Mathematics helps us understand a lot of concepts very well compared to if we are talking about those concepts without the help of mathematics. So, this is where we understand that mathematics helps us to really conceptualize what's happening in the world around us, and it is a very good descriptor of reality. I often joke with some of my students that physics is the father of reality, mathematics is the mother of reality, and chemistry and biology are their children. So we have this family of physics, chemistry, maths, and biology. Here I am going to explain the concept of return on time invested. Okay, everybody talks about return on investments. Everybody talks about return on their monetary investments. So the monetary ROI is what people talk about. However, this monetary ROI is somewhat less meaningful compared to what I am defining to be the time ROI. This is somewhat more meaningful, as we'll soon understand in this particular video. Okay, so if let us say a person is indulged in an activity that he or she deems to be difficult, then in that case that activity is time costly for that person. That activity is what I will call as anti knack activity. Now knack for me stands for neuroplasticity and creativity. So the human mind and brain, the human mind and brain actually wants to do what it wants to do when it wants to do, and what it wants to do when it wants to do depends upon the socio geopolitical and economic surroundings, as well as the person's own psychology that they have developed and evolved with. For instance, a person might want to ride a bicycle and enjoy the open air at one point in time. At another point in time, they might want to eat ice cream and be happy, and at another point in time they might want the endorphins and the hormones released from exercise, and they might want to feel good that way. So a person would like to do what they want to do when they want to do. That is the definition of freedom and happiness that comes from freedom. So when we are forced to do one activity, even if that activity is very pleasurable to us at the start, or it might be less pleasurable to us at the start. Okay, so when we as an individual, ourselves as an individual, when we are forced to do one activity, then in that case there is a time cost associated with that activity. I'll try to illustrate the time cost associated with that activity. So on the y-axis I'm going to draw cost, and on the x-axis I am going to draw the time spent in doing that activity. So if it is an activity that we like, for example, chess grandmasters certainly like playing chess. So let us say the time cost of that activity for chess grandmasters is very low. There is almost no time cost. But let us say if they are forced to play chess 24 hours in a day, then there will be some time cost associated with it. So if they are, let's say that they are forced to play chess necessarily and compulsively as a means to an end, or as a source of income. Let's say they are having to spend not only for themselves but also their family, extended family, so on and so forth. So it is important that they earn basically. Then in that case they are now forced to play chess necessarily. They can't play chess now when they want, how they want. So now the time cost of the chess playing activity will go up. This is just an example. So when we do anything for prolonged amount of time, for a sustained amount of duration, unless it's a very creative field wherein we can change the activity whatever we are doing. Because if you repeat one activity, if one activity is repeated, then the human brain automatically thinks that that is an anti-knack activity, so it is an activity that is against neuroplasticity and creativity. And the human brain wants neuroplasticity and creativity to take place in order to feel happy or be happy. Even if a master programmer wants or likes programming, they don't necessarily want to program 24/7 365. So they would like some other task also to come in with their own programming task. So what is happening over here is the time cost of the activity is increasing. Now when we talk about time invested in any venture, then in that case we have to calculate the actual cost or actual time cost. That is going to be simply equal to the time that we have invested into the time cost. So the time cost is somewhat like how we feel about it, essentially speaking. All right, so if we feel that it is very costly on our time, then in that case the time cost is going to be higher. Like for example, me personally, I don't like to do what I term as admin tasks, like for example, driving my own car, so as to say, cooking my own food, so on and so forth. So these tasks I enjoy when I want to do them for how much of a duration I want to do them. But if I am forced to do these tasks, then my time cost of my existence is high. So let's say I spend 2 hours in cooking my own food, and the time cost, let's hypothetically say that the time cost is 100, then essentially the actual time cost that I am spending on the cooking of food is actually equal to 200 ATC units, or I'll just call it as units because these are abstract concepts that I am defining mathematically over here. So the actual time cost is 200 units. And what is the return on my time investment that I got? I got cooked food basically. All right. So if I value my time at, let's say, in the monetary terms, let's say I value my time at 1000 currency units, let's say, then I spent 1000 currency units into 2, that is equal to 2000 currency units I spent. And what did I get? I have gotten cooked food. So if I could instead order this cooked food from somewhere, then in that case I would have saved effectively, according to me, in my own mind, 2000 currency units I would have saved, and maybe gotten the cooked food for maybe 20 currency units. All right. So here in this particular example, I ended up spending more time cost and got less back in return. So this concept of time cost is very, very important for us to understand actually, because this is the conventional accounting methods or conventional actuarial methods, actually speaking, uh, somehow don't account for these particular type of time costs. All right. So essentially speaking, if an activity is more difficult for us, it is going to be more time costly. If an activity is less difficult for us, then it is going to be less time costly. This is what we mean when we say, or when we talk about time costs. Now, what is the relevance of the advice that follow your own heart? We would have heard about this advice from multiple people at multiple points in time in our lives. This is a very popular advice. Follow your own heart. Do what you like. This is another advice that we hear. Choose a career that you would like. Do what you like. Choose a career that you really, really like. This is another advice that we hear. Well, why are these advices relevant? Because if, let us say, a person chooses something that they don't like, okay? So let us just hypothetically take an example. Let us say a person is in the field of sales, cold calling sales. The person is in the field of cold calling sales, okay? So let us say the person, since sales is not really a job wherein your number of work hours matters a lot compared to the result, let's say they decide to work 5 hours in a day, and let's say using those 5 hours they are able to sell one product of 10,000 currency units each day, let's say, and they are working for 25 days in 1 month. Let's say their commission, sales commission is 10%, so they are getting 1000 currency units each month. They are getting 1000 currency units, let's assume. Okay, so by working 5 hours into 25 days, so by working 125 total hours, they are able to earn approximately 1000 into 25, so 25,000 currency units, essentially speaking. All right, so under conventional accounting, what would be their hourly wage? It will simply be 250 into 10 raised to 2 upon 125. So their hourly wage will come out to be 200 currency units. So people may think that okay, 200 currency units is what they are earning effectively on an hourly basis. But wait a minute. If we think about the time cost of this particular invested time, then in that case we are able to make a better calculation. Let's say they absolutely hate sales. Let's assume. Okay, then in that case their time cost is, let's assume in time cost units, their time cost is, let's say, 100 for every hour of sales that they put in. Their time cost is 100. All right, so return on investment should not be calculated in this manner, by the net output divided by the total number of hours that we put in. This is not how we should calculate return on investment. If we want to understand about the happiness index or the general level of happiness of a person, we should calculate return on investment. Return on time investment is what I would say we should calculate. ROTI instead of just ROI. So return on time investment would be something like 250 into 10 raised to 2 divided by 125 into 100, because 100 is their time cost, remember. So this is going to be equal to simply 2. So 2 currency units is what they effectively earned, because they went through hell in order to earn 200 currency units. They went through hell to reach over here. So compare this particular job with another job that they potentially have taken. They potentially could have taken up another job which they really like. Like for instance, they could have taken up a job which is, let's say, podcasting. Now in podcasting, let's say effectively if they worked for 125 hours, if they worked for 125 hours effectively speaking in podcasting, then they might they would be able to come up with, let's say, 10 podcasts effectively, and let's say each podcast netted them, let's say hypothetically speaking, each podcast netted them 500 currency units, let's say. So here in all, how much did they earn? They earned 5000 currency units by putting in 125 hours of work. In the earlier example, how much did they earn? The net earning in the earlier example was 25,000, whereas in this particular example the net earning, as we can see, only 5000 currency units. Okay, in both the examples the number of input hours that they have put in are 125 hours. All right, but now let us check it out. Since this was not time costly for them, this 125 hours, okay, this 125 hours effectively speaking were at a time cost of, let's say, only 2. Let's say the time cost was very less, because they love podcasting. So since you are giving time and it is a repetitive task, there is going to be some time cost associated with it. No matter how much you like it, no matter how much you love it, if you are repeating the task, the human brain that craves for neuroplasticity and creativity always wants to associate some cost with it. So this is the concept of diminishing marginal utility of returns as we know it in psychology. So let's say there is the time cost associated with it with these 125 hours is 2. So actual time cost for this particular endeavor was 125 into 2, so that makes it 250. So their return on time investment in this particular endeavor of podcasting, okay, return on time investment is going to be equal to 5000 currency units divided by 250. That makes it a return of 20. All right. So this is 20 per hour. Okay. So now, would they be happier with 2 currency units being returned, or be happier with 20 currency units being returned per hour? Obviously, they would be happy with 20 instead of 2 currency units being returned per hour. That is what would actually make them happier. Now add to it the fact that some people work really hard in jobs that they hate, and then they buy things that they don't want. That is when life actually becomes hellish for them, and that's why they get depressed, because they are doing something that is very anti-biological to them. So something that is very anti-biological, against their own biological imperatives, that is what is actually you know uh, killing their soul, so as to say. Human beings generally want to pursue creative tasks and not repetitive and mechanical tasks. Speaking, human beings want to pursue creative tasks. So what is our recommendation? My particular recommendation is, one must read something called as an Epicurean reality. So Epicurus was a philosopher. He essentially talked about Epicureanism. So it is somewhat like hedonism, but not exactly. Hedonism is the pursuit of pleasure for pleasure's sake itself. Pleasure is supposed to be the highest value in hedonism. But as far as Epicureanism is concerned, we essentially are wanting to stay away from fear, fear of the bill collector, fear of the income tax collector, fear of earthquakes, fear of robbery, fear of starving, etc. We want to stay away from fear, and we want to stay away from ill health and pain. So we want to stay away from pain essentially. We want to mitigate grief as much as possible. See, ultimately everybody of us is going to die. Okay. So Stoicism says that we should be numb to any kind of pain, fear, grief, etc. And we should be on autopilot, and we should go through life in an autopilot manner. Whereas Epicureanism says that okay, we can do that, we can be Stoics, but we should not only be Stoics, we should actively try to avoid these things. Okay. And we should seek material resources and comfort and pleasure only in order to avoid these things. Only in order to avoid these things. And after we reach this stage, after we achieve this particular stage of avoiding these things, after that we should live minimally. So minimalistically we should live. We should be able to avoid fear, grief, pain, ill health. Pain also includes ill health, bodily pain, etc., injury, etc. For ourselves and our loved ones, our immediate family and community, etc. And after that, we should live minimalistically, so that we do not end up chasing pleasure for the sake of chasing pleasure, because the chase of pleasure, as hedonism points out, is never ending. Because in the human mind and brain, if you achieve something, then dopamine is released, and after that dopamine is consumed by the human brain and mind, you need more of that particular thing in order to release more amount of dopamine. So in that particular manner, you are going to get lesser and lesser of the pleasure that you got from doing that particular thing for the first time. And that is exactly also why continually doing something will diminish your ROTI, because your time cost will be higher for something that you are continually doing, even though you liked it earlier. So what is the solution out of all of this basically? So as I have remarked about ROI walls, so here we also hit ROTI walls. So what do we mean by ROTI walls? So if we are indulged in one particular activity, few hours or after few days or maybe after few years, that activity seems to be kind of boring for us and not really interesting, then we should switch to another activity. And then if that second activity seems to be boring, like when ROTI ball is hit, so let's say this is the ROTI ball, we hit the ROTI ball on the first activity, then in that case we should switch to another activity and hit the ROTI ball on that activity. Then we should hit the ROTI ball on a third activity that we choose. Now, is this the aim of life? Is the aim of life hitting ROTI balls on various different activities? Well, in one sense, yes, because if you are bored of doing something, like you're a legendary investor and now you have invested your money, lots of money you have invested into the stock market, and it's growing as fast as it could, like, then what do? Like, investment will require 1 hour of your time, let's say, in one day. Then you have hit the ROI ball on that particular activity. So you would now much rather go ahead and maybe study physics and understand about how the universe originated. Now, if that is something that you like, of course, but actually everybody should like studying physics. Anyway, coming back to the point, you then hit the ROTI ball on this particular activity. So that's why this idiom comes that grass is always greener on the other side. So maybe you can then learn dance. So basically, what is the role of hobbies in life, essentially speaking? So out of life is a multivariate problem. So out of the various many things that we can do in life, we essentially want to maximize the return on time invested. That is actually the meaning of life, if you think about it. Sometimes we might not get any amount of monetary return on investment out of it, but the happiness that we get out of it is much more compared to the time that given. So now this brings me to the next concept, actually speaking. So this concept is that of return of happiness on the time invested, basically. So you see, the normal return on investment, like this is like normal ROI, return on investment, is what? Your returns on capital invested or money invested. Okay, so this is the normal ROI, actually speaking. We should actually all be talking about how much happiness we obtained upon how much time we invested. That is what we should actually be talking about. This is what we should actually be talking about. So sometimes the capital investment might be low, returns might be low, but happiness compared to time that we invested might be high. So HOTI is, let's say, a new ratio that I am spontaneously doing over here. Happiness obtained on time invested. So that is not even monetary returns. Not even monetary returns. This is the meta
understood, then we see that why a monk can actually be more happy than a billionaire. Okay, this is what mathematics helps us in understanding this thing, actually. So why can a monk be happier than a billionaire? Well, a monk might have invested less amount of time in making billions and billions of dollars, can still be happier because the monk would have higher happiness points that he would have obtained upon the time that he invested. So the quality of the time for the monk would not have suffered, but the quality of the happiness and peace of mind that he would have obtained would be much higher. This happiness would have been increased because monks live minimalistically. So minimalism, by living minimalistically, a monk would have actually gained higher amounts of happiness points compared to the time invested. So the HOTI, happiness obtained for the time invested, this ratio might actually be higher for a monk than a billionaire. Now, as an entrepreneur, if you are an entrepreneur, you will hit HOTI balls, like the happiness that you are obtaining based upon the time that you are investing
might be lesser compared to if you had invested your time in some other activity, despite the fact that the money that you are achieving actually based upon the time that you are investing might be larger in activity number one. But this is where the meta concept comes in. After you reach your Epicurean reality, after that the quality of life and quality of time, that is what matters, and the actual money value does not matter. So if you have not reached your Epicurean reality, then in that case you are going to get negatively affected because of fear, grief, like fear of income tax collectors, bill collectors. If you are not able to pay for food, or if you are not able to pay for your house's rent, or if you are not able to pay the electricity bills, the internet bills, so on and so forth, then in that case, in this particular non-Epicurean reality, grief, fear, and pain will reduce your quality of happiness. But once you have reached your Epicurean reality, after that, after a certain level, as has been remarked by many humans on planet Earth, after a certain level, then in that case, if you are chasing for more monetary output to buy the things that you don't actually need, because after you reach your Epicurean reality, the most efficient thing is to live minimalistically and invest time in those activities that actually give you pleasure. Like for instance, for me, physics research and contemplating the universe and explaining the things that I understand in simplest possible manner gives me a lot of pleasure. So I am indulging in this particular activity. Now here I do not know the monetary value of this particular activity, and what's more important is that I don't care. I am doing this for the pleasure of being able to explain a complex concept in the simplest possible manner. This is what I am doing right now. And hence the happiness that I am obtaining just because of making this particular video in explaining this particular concept is much worth what I am investing as time. So my HOTI on this particular activity is relatively large, even though I do not know about the money that I'll be earning, or it might be zero, or I don't expect to earn anything out of this. I don't care about it because my happiness obtained per time invested is higher over here. So this is the concept of HOTI that is applicable, because as more and more humans hit their Epicurean reality, if they are in the momentum of trying to achieve more and more financial success, so as to say, then in that case they would just actually be chasing something that will lead them to hit a wall, because while trying to achieve financial success there are lots of bottlenecks and lots of walls, return on investment walls, that are actually present, and I have explained the concept of return on investment walls elsewhere, wherein I talk about ROI in the traditional sense of things. So HOTI, happiness obtained on time invested, or happiness on time invested, this is the important key criteria that one should be chasing after one hits their Epicurean. So you might be a legendary investor, or let's take the example of a legendary investor. Now that particular legendary investor is actually being able to hit their Epicurean reality, and after that they are doing things that they want. Okay, if investing happens to be that thing, then they'll continue investing. Basically, after they hit their Epicurean reality, then in that case that thing will be the thing that they would continue doing. Now if it is something else that they want to do, like for example pursuing dance, or let's say studying physics, then probably they will do that, or taking up a musical instrument and creating art. Okay, essentially all art is also okay. Anyway, I'll not talk about art right now, because one less number of concepts per video. Okay, so let's talk about Epicurean reality now. So let's assume that you need 50,000 currency units to live the current standard of life that you are living on a monthly basis. So multiply this by 12 and multiply this by with the number of years of life you are going to live ahead of you. Let's say if you are a 30-year-old person, then you have let's assume you have 70 more years to live. So these are months. So this is your lifetime expense. So let's understand this now. How much is it coming out to be? 6 into 10 raised to 5 into 70. So it's coming out to be 42 into 10 raised to 6. So this is currency units. So this is your lifetime expense in currency units. So this is like 4.2 into 10 raised to 7 currency units. Okay. So let's say this is your lifetime expenditure. Then if you have this lifetime expenditure earned and saved,
money which may also happen. So some amount of diversification will actually this particular investment. Once you have this actually, then in that case you can just withdraw effectively 50,000 currency every month and be reasonably rest assured that you have reached your Epicurean reality for a lifetime. And thenceforward, then all your needs are essentially met. Now if you want to work extra hard for your wants, then in that case you are free to do so. Or else if you want to pursue uh, creativity and art which may not have more return on time invest, like return of capital on the time that you are investing, but it might have more return of happiness on the time that you are investing, then that might be the path that you as a person might want to go towards. So generally the world, because of AI and because of automation, seems to be moving in this particular direction. And hence minimalism is also very important, because if we have more and more humans trying to chase materialistic wealth, then in that case we are depleting the earth more and more, because capitalism doesn't take into account the fact that as we are compounding things, the finite amount of resources on earth will hit their limit basically. So this particular fact is not taken into account when we talk about capitalism and capital exponential returns and exponentiation, generally speaking. So we are able to focus upon what we actually want out of life versus what other people think that we should want out of life, or what other people are wanting out of life. When we actually give a thought to what exactly we want and how to maximize our HOTI. Okay, so not only the time that we have invested matters, the quality of the time that we have invested matters. Okay, so traditionally speaking, again recapitulating, traditionally speaking, people just bother about return on investment. So whatever capital they got back, capital output upon capital input. Also, of course, when did they get it back? So how much percentage return they got on it, etc. matters. what is the capital back upon the time, actual time cost that you invested basically? So what, how much did you get back? The actual time cost of what you invested. So these are the three concepts over here. Traditionally only ROI is what is focused upon, but actually we should focus upon ROTI as well as HOTI, because these are concepts that are closer to the truth. Money is just a construct that has been invented by human beings. Actually what matters in life is happiness. Let's understand that, okay? So let's all of us hit the Epicurean reality of, getting to a level wherein pain is not there, fear is not there, grief is not there. Then the major role of money is then over, and after that point in time, let's hit upon the ROTI and HOTI indexes.
to and what want to make them uh, to be higher than the regular ROI index, because the ROI is never going to end. The ROI journey is never going to end. You can always achieve better ROI. You can always do more. You can always earn more money. So when and how and what amount of money is going to be enough has to be decided by you yourself.